Hi, this is another production of Car Repairs Made Easy. Today we're working on a 1996 Impala SS. We're going to show you how to do the rear brakes. If you look at the previous video, we had front brakes to do on this car, but for time constraints we're making a separate video for the rear brakes. Maybe you only need to do the rear brakes. So Andy showed up now, so we're going to put him to work, and we'll get ready and we'll get our tools together and we'll show you how to do this repair. Okay, now we're down here with our tools. We're ready to go. Remember, this is an Impala SS that we're working on in 1996, and we're going to show you how to do the rear brakes.
Alright, so I guess I should have stayed away for a while because John's putting me to work. But yeah, he did the fronts, so I'll do these. Somebody's got to do it, I guess. Alright, here's our rear brake caliper. These are pretty easy. First thing we want to do is get in here between the brake pad and the rotor if we can, or between the brake pad and the caliper. Try to give this just a little bit of a push to compress the piston a little bit. That'll allow the brake caliper to come off the pads. The more you can do this, the better. Gives you more room, but you don't want to score the rotor. Now we just use our 15mm socket on the nut back here and a 17mm wrench to hold the inside nut. What we're going to do is we're going to break this loose. If we get lucky, this will just swing down. We can change the pads and swing it back up. We won't have to completely take it off. But if we have to take it off, it's not a big deal because it's easy to do. I don't know if you can see it. It might be hard to see. This nut wants to turn, so I have to hold it. Now I got it loose a little bit. That's our caliper mounting bolt. I know they seem small for brakes, but that's what the manufacturer wanted. These are actually in pretty good shape, but the guy wanted to replace them all since we were there. Take note of the position of these wear sensors, which pad they go on. One indication is the round mark there. That shows you it was against the piston, so you know that's the inside pad when we put the new ones on. Now, I had somebody ask this on a different brake job. How far do you push in the piston? Well, what you want is you want the piston to be flush with the edge of the caliper here, because we didn't do this way last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an old brake pad, and this would actually be the preferred way, especially if you're inexperienced. You don't want to damage the piston. So we'll put the brake pad on here. Can that be seen, John?
Yep, nice and clear.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze against the brake pad, and once that goes all the way in, that'll put us flush and right where we want it. Now that's all the way in.
And what else can you use to compress that piston?
You could, how you saw me start with the screwdriver, you could do it that way. You could use a C-clamp against, just like this, against the oops, that wasn't real smart. Give me a second here and I'll show you how to do this with the C-clamp. Or you take a C-clamp, you see it looks like a C, that's why it's named that way. Get it on the back of the caliper. This one's going to be tricky because the brake line's back there, so be careful you don't hit the end of the brake fitting, the brake line fitting. And you just tighten this down. If it stays in place, I'll put my foot there. Hopefully we can show you. Then you can just turn this and that will push it in. Well, if you can see, it wants to go in a little bit more. That's as far as it seems like it wants to go. They also make tools to do this that you could squeeze, almost like a water hose trigger. Those work, but they can be difficult to use because you got to use a lot of pressure on them. But just find what works for you. That's this here. It'll go in here, and you just squeeze it and it'll push the piston in. Well, like I said, it takes a lot of pressure to squeeze this, so some cars it works well on, others it doesn't. See if we can get this in a little bit more. Nope, that's in. So I was a little wrong with the other one we did on a Cadillac. They may not all go in flush. So use the brake pad, squeeze it with your big channel locks or C-clamp. That will put it in all the way. So now we have our new brake pads. Wear sensors on the inside pad. Let's get this lined up. Should set right in there. This one first. Sometimes you have to put them in a little bit at an angle just to get them to fit. Those are in. Now we can swing this up. You see it fits nice and easy. These two things here, I'll show you another pad. This here is a spring that the caliper pushes on. That's your anti-rattle spring. That keeps the pads in place so they don't move around and vibrate when you're braking or while you're driving. In case you're wondering, you see all this rust in here? I don't know if John mentioned it on the front when he did the front brakes. This car actually is I won't say a survivor, but it's made it through Katrina somehow. This car was flooded. Somebody's actually taken the time to rebuild it. You can see all the rust back here. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad car, it just means this guy, whoever owns this, or whoever did own it, at one point they've put a lot of money in it to restore it. That happens with these cars because these are, you could say, classic cars. People like them. They're worth a lot of money, even, I would imagine, even with a salvage title. Alright, that's the left rear brakes. I'm going to put the wheel on, then we'll get set up, and I'll show you the other side. Okay, now we're all set. We moved around to the passenger side. We're going to do the same thing. Get our 15 here, 17 wrench there. If you notice, this doesn't want to fit. On this particular car, we could just pull this. This is the parking brake cable. We can just move that a little bit out of the way, and we can get to the bolt. So, get this thing set to take off. Put a wrench here. Give it a little quick turn. And this is going to loosen up. Now with this cable in the way, I'm just going to take this out with the ratchet instead of with my fingers. But it's a short bolt, so you won't have too much. Probably won't fall asleep by the time I get this out. And that's out. This one actually slid off. We didn't have to release it. There's our old brake pads, wear sensors on the inside. And then what we decided to do is show you how this works with the. Are we going to be able to see this down here? With the C-clamp. We looked at our other tool. That one's not going to work on this particular style of caliper. So what we're going to do is we're going to back this out. Hopefully we can make this work for you. Because not everyone may have a big pair of channel locks. Get this positioned just right. This should work. Hopefully that'll hold. And now if I can get my hand out of the way, you'll be able to see this go in. It's slow, but it goes in steady and at a good speed actually. If you see real close, you'll be able to see that piston pushing in. A little bit at a time. Then this will stop. And that piston should be all the way in. There's stuff on the lid here. And just to make sure, I'm just going to take my big channel locks. This is just me verifying it, but I'm sure it's in all the way. And I went in just a tad more. I think that was because my C-clamp was a little bit on an angle. Alright, we got our brake pads out. Now, in the meantime, John's going to grab the other brake pads. Here we go. So we have our one with our wear sensor. Sometimes you'll have just one on either end. It's important to note the direction and the side that it's on. They're there and placed in a specific place for a reason. Hey, there's our shop mascot. Or the family dog. Whatever you want to call him. Get that back in. Try to get around this. I have to put some pressure on it due to those anti-rattle springs to get the bolt lined up. And then we move our cable again to get our ratchet on. I mean, you could do it this way, or if you're lucky enough to have these ratcheting wrenches, you can hear it click. Those are nice. You can get on there with that. Tighten these down, but not too tight. You don't want to break the bolt. And that's that. So we're done. I'm going to put the wheel on, get this thing down. We'll make sure we take it for a test drive. Remember, anytime you do brakes, pump your brake pedal 3, 4, 5 times with the engine on or with it running, but do it before you move the car, because if you don't, you're going to have no brake pedal. We don't want anyone to get into an accident.
Alright, so we finished the brake job on the Impala SS. Hope that you learned something and we saved you a little bit of money for you doing it yourself. As you can see, they're not that hard to do. Make sure you visit us on Facebook, Car Repairs Made Easy, Twitter, and our website, carrepairsmadeeasy.com. All of those links will be in the description down below the video, and we hope to see you next time.